most people spend their entire lives avoiding the furnace. They believe that peace is the absence of conflict and that performance is the result of comfort. This is the first lie. You are here because the furnace has finally arrived, and in its heat you realized you are made of wax. You froze. You hesitated. You looked for an exit that wasn't there. Pressure is the only time you are actually alive. Everything else is just waiting. The world tells you to breathe. They tell you to find your happy place. They tell you that you are enough. These are the whispers of the weak, designed to keep you compliant and predictable. They want you to stay a victim of the moment, because a man who can master himself under pressure is a man they can no longer control. Here is the brutal truth. Pressure is not an external weight. It is a mirror. When you feel that tightening in your chest, that static in your brain, it is not the situation crushing you. It is your own ego screaming because it realizes it has no authority. You have spent years building a version of yourself that only works when things are easy. Now, the mask is cracking. This is the trap. Most people believe that to act under pressure, they need more confidence. They are wrong. Confidence is a luxury for the spectators. What you need is a mechanism. What you need is to become a machine that operates in the vacuum of emotion. If you continue to listen to the voices of the mediocre, you will remain a pawn in someone else's game, paralyzed whenever the stakes are raised. But if you understand what I am about to reveal, you will learn to treat chaos as your natural habitat. You will learn that the moment of highest pressure is the moment of your greatest dominance. This knowledge has a cost. Once you see the world through the lens of the sovereign, you can never go back to the blissful ignorance of the prey. You will lose the ability to feel safe, but you will gain the ability to be dangerous. Phase 1. The law of the internal void. The moment you feel the world closing in, your first instinct is to reach out. You look for reassurance. You look for reassurance. You look for instructions. You look for a way to make the feeling go away. This is the mark of the subordinate. Power is not about intensity, it is about distance. In the 16th century, Niccolò Machiavelli understood that the prince who is moved by the heat of the moment is a prince who will soon be headless. He understood that the only way to govern a state is to first govern the internal state. Most people fail under pressure because they are too close to themselves. They are fused with their own panic. To act under pressure, you must create a void between the stimulus and the response. You must become a ghost in your own body. Think of the boardroom, the courtroom, or the battlefield. The person who is frantic, who is talking fast, who is sweating under the gaze of others, that person has already lost. They have given the environment permission to dictate their identity. They are reactive, and to be reactive is to be a slave. The sovereign does not try to stop the pressure. He simply stops acknowledging it as a reality. This is not calm. Calm is an emotion. This is the void. It is a cold, calculated indifference to the outcome. When you remove the I from the equation, there is no one left to feel the pressure. I am failing. I am scared. I might lose everything. These are narratives. They are stories you tell yourself to justify your cowardice. The void has no stories. In the void, there is only the objective and the execution. If you are thinking about the consequences of failure while you are in the heat of the moment, you have already committed treason against your own potential. You must realize that your brain is a biological machine designed for survival, not for greatness. It wants you to freeze because freezing is safe. It wants you to run because running preserves the organism. To act under pressure is to commit an act of violence against your own biology. It is to force the machine to work against its own programming. Here is the paradox. The less you care about the survival of your ego, the more likely you are to dominate the situation. Phase 2. The architecture of tactical silence. Most people believe that to exert power under pressure, they must speak, they must act, they must fill the space. They are terrified of the silence that pressure creates, so they try to drown it out with noise. This is the trap. Noise is a leak. It is the sound of power escaping the vessel. When the pressure is at its peak, the most sovereign move is to do absolutely nothing for 3 seconds longer than feels comfortable. Consider a high-stakes negotiation or a confrontation. The air is thick. The other person is waiting for your reaction. Your brain is screaming at you to defend yourself, to explain, to justify. But the moment you explain, you submit. The moment you justify, you acknowledge their authority to judge you. Silence under pressure is a form of psychological violence. It signals to everyone in the room that you are not experiencing the same reality they are. They are feeling the heat, you are the ice. While they are drowning in the tension, you are using that tension to perform a vivisection on their resolve. Robert Greene speaks of the art of boldness, but the highest form of boldness is the restraint of action until the moment of maximum impact. Pressure is a wave. If you fight it, you drown. If you wait for it to peak and then move through the trough, you own the ocean. You must practice the cold stare of the strategist. When the world demands an immediate reaction, divot a blank wall, force the pressure back onto the source. If the pressure comes from a deadline, work slower. If the pressure comes from an enemy, look them in the eye and say nothing. The goal is to become the eye of the storm. The eye is the only part of the hurricane that is not moving. It is the most dangerous part because it is the center of the mechanism, yet it remains untouched by the chaos it creates. When you act from a place of tactical silence, your actions carry the weight of inevitability. Most people act to fix the pressure. You must act to fulfill your objective. The pressure is irrelevant. Phase 3, the mechanism of the third person. Here is where it flips. Most people are trapped in the first person. What do I do? How do I look? What if I fail? This is the perspective of the prey. The prey is always the protagonist of its own tragedy. To force your brain to act under pressure, you must adopt the perspective of the observer. You must view yourself as a piece on a chessboard. Imagine you are watching a film of yourself in this high-pressure moment. The character on the screen is sweating. The character is facing a crisis. From your seat in the theater, you don't feel the character's heartbeat. You only see the tactical options available to them. You see the exit. You see the weapon. You see the opening that the character is too blinded by fear to notice. This is the third-person mechanism. When the pressure hits, you must mentally step back. Observe your own physical sensations as if they belong to a stranger. The subject is experiencing increased adrenaline. The subject's palms are damp. The subject's breathing is shallow. By labeling the experience as something happening to a subject rather than to you, you strip the emotion of its power. You turn a crisis into a data set. The Stoics called this the objective representation. They didn't see a terrifying enemy. They saw a collection of atoms and a confused mind. They didn't see a career-ending mistake. They saw a sequence of events that required a new sequence of actions. Most people fail because they are in the problem. You must be above the problem, looking down at your own body and directing it like a drone. When you are in this state, fear becomes an interesting variable rather than a paralyzing force. You begin to play with the pressure. You realize that the person across from you is also a subject, likely more terrified and less controlled than you are. This is where dominance actually lives. It lives in the ability to remain analytical while others are becoming emotional. While they are trying to save their lives, you are simply playing the game. And the person playing a game will always defeat the person fighting for survival. Phase 4. Weaponizing the cortisol spike. You have been taught that stress is bad. You have been told that cortisol and adrenaline are toxins that you need to manage. This is the language of the weak. To the sovereign, stress is fuel. It is an internal chemical injection designed to turn you into a predator. The only reason it feels like anxiety is because you haven't given it a target. Anxiety and excitement are the exact same physiological state. The only difference is the narrative you attach to it. When your heart starts racing, the pawn says, "I am having a panic attack." The sovereign says, "The machine is powering up." If you try to suppress the surge of energy that comes with pressure, it will turn inward and eat you. It will manifest as shaking hands and a cracking voice. You cannot suppress the furnace. You can only direct the heat. The moment the pressure hits, you must pick a single, aggressive action. It doesn't even have to be the perfect action, but it must be decisive. By moving forward, you give that adrenaline a channel. You transform from the object of the pressure to the source of the pressure. This is why top-tier operators and elite performers often seem addicted to high-stress environments. They aren't addicted to the stress, they are addicted to the clarity that comes when the brain is overclocked. Under extreme pressure, the brain prunes away everything that doesn't matter. It deletes your insecurities. It deletes your memories of yesterday. It deletes your worries about tomorrow. It leaves you with nothing but the present moment. Most people find this terrifying because they don't know who they are without their insecurities and memories. But for the strategist, this is the only time they are truly free. You are no longer a person. You are a process. You must learn to love the click. Click is that moment when the pressure becomes so high that your ego finally gives up and lets the machine take over. To get there, you must stop resisting the discomfort. You must lean into it. You must demand more of it. When you feel the pressure, do not ask for it to stop. Say to yourself, is that all? By demanding more pressure, you invert the power dynamic. You are no longer the victim of the environment. You are the consumer of it. You are eating the chaos to power your own execution. Phase 5, the illusion of spontaneity. The world admires the quick thinker, the man who can improvise in the face of disaster. This admiration is a sign of a peasant's mindset. The sovereign knows that improvisation is merely a desperate attempt to fix a lack of preparation. Here is the brutal truth. If you have to think under pressure, you have already lost. Power is built in the dark, during the hours when there is no pressure. You do not rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your systems. Most people feel pressure because they are encountering a reality they haven't bothered to map out. They are tourists in their own lives, surprised by every storm. To force your brain to act, you must remove the need for choice. Choice is a cognitive drain. Choice creates hesitation. And in high-pressure environments, hesitation is the signature of the victim. The Machiavellian strategist does not react to a crisis. He executes a pre-recorded script. He has already walked through the fire 1,000 times in his mind. He has envisioned the worst-case scenario, the betrayal, the bankruptcy, the public humiliation. He has lived through them so many times in his internal theater that when they happen in reality, they are boring. The man who is prepared has already won the battle. The battle itself is merely a formal announcement of his victory. When the pressure hits, your brain should not be asking, "What should I do?" It should be saying, "Initiate Protocol Alpha." This is the difference between a pawn and a sovereign. A pawn is trying to figure out the rules of the game while the clock is ticking. The sovereign wrote the rules before the game even began. If you find yourself paralyzed, it is because you were too lazy to be cynical. You hoped for the best and you were crushed by the reality. Phase 6, the dissociation protocol. We have discussed the third-person mechanism, but now we must go deeper. You must learn to treat your own identity as a tool, not a home. Most people are paralyzed under pressure because they are worried about their reputation or their self-image. They are protecting a ghost. They think, "I can't let them see me like this." The sovereign understands that the self is a lie. You are not your feelings. You are not your history. You are the executive force that directs the body. In moments of extreme pressure, you must engage the dissociation protocol. You must view your physical form as a biological drone. If the drone is destroyed, the mission continues. If the drone is embarrassed, the mission continues. This is the part most people miss. The reason you feel pressure is that you are too attached to your own skin. You are too invested in being you. When you dissociate, you gain the God view. You see the social dynamics as lines of code. You see the angry boss not as a threat, but as a fluctuating variable of low emotional intelligence. You see the failing project not as a tragedy, but as a structural inefficiency. This is not numbness. Numbness is a defensive reaction to pain. Dissociation is an offensive maneuver to gain clarity. By detaching from the outcome, you become the most dangerous person in the room. Why? Because a man who has nothing to lose, not even his own sense of self, cannot be manipulated. You cannot threaten a ghost. You cannot pressure a machine. Phase 7. The weaponization of discipline. The modern world has turned discipline into a wellness habit. They tell you to wake up early so you can feel good. They tell you to exercise so you can be healthy. This is a lie. Discipline is not for health. Discipline is for the training of the nervous system to endure high-intensity hostility. Discipline is the process of intentionally subjecting yourself to pressure so that your brain learns to associate discomfort with dominance. When you force yourself to take a freezing shower or to finish a grueling task when your mind is screaming for rest, you are not just building a habit. You are performing a calibration. You are teaching your amygdala that its danger signals will be ignored. This is the paradox. The more you suffer by your own hand, the less you will suffer at the hand of the world. If you are disciplined only when you feel like it, you are not disciplined. You are just a slave to your moods. To act under pressure, you must have a history of ignoring your own internal protests. The moment you feel the urge to hesitate under pressure, your brain should remember the thousands of times you forced it to comply in the shadows. Your brain should fear you more than it fears the external situation. Discipline is the art of becoming your own tyrant. Most people are reactive because they have never been forced to hold their ground. They have lived soft lives, and now that the world has turned cold, they are shivering. You, however, must be the winter. Phase 8. The anatomy of the decisive strike. Now go deeper. Once you have achieved the void, once you have silenced the noise, and once you have dissociated from the ego, you must act. But your action must not be a scramble, it must be a strike. Under pressure, the sovereign response follows 3 rules. Economy of motion. Do not over-explain. Do not move more than necessary. If a single word will suffice, do not use a sentence. Unapologetic weight. When you move, move with the total assumption that you are right. Even if you are wrong, your certainty will create its own gravity. The follow-through. Most people act and then immediately look for feedback. Did that work? Are they still mad? This is submission. The sovereign acts and then moves to the next objective without looking back. Think of a predator. A wolf does not look for approval after the kill. It does not check if the forest liked its performance. It consumes and moves on. In a high-pressure social interaction, perhaps someone is trying to humiliate you in front of a group. The pawn response is to get angry or to make a joke to ease the tension. Both are admissions that the pressure is affecting you. The sovereign response is to look at the person with a calm, detached curiosity, as if they are a strange insect. You wait for the silence to become unbearable. Then you ask a single, piercing question that shifts the burden of proof back onto them. Is this the best use of our time, or are you just struggling to find a point? You don't say it with anger. You say it with the cold authority of a judge passing sentence. You have forced your brain to act, not by fighting the pressure, but by becoming the pressure. The core transformation, becoming the mechanism. This is where power actually lives. It does not live in tips or tricks. It lives in an identity shift. You feel stuck because you are still trying to be a good person or a successful person under pressure. You're trying to maintain a social mask while the building is on fire. Here is the paradox. To save the building, you must be willing to let the mask burn. Most people never realize that pressure is actually a gift. It is the only time the world stops being a polite fiction and starts being real. It is the only time you can see who is actually in control. Are you a pawn waiting for someone to tell you it's okay, or are you the hand that moves the pawn? If you understand this, everything changes. You stop looking for motivation. Motivation is for the emotional. You start looking for execution. You begin to see every high-pressure moment as a laboratory where you can test the strength of your internal void. The next time your heart starts to pound, the next time the room goes quiet and all eyes are on you, do not try to breathe it away. Feel the surge, recognize the mechanism, and then, with the cold precision of a surgeon, perform the action that the moment requires. The cost of this power is your humanity. You will no longer feel the warmth of the crowd. You will no longer find comfort in the shared panic of the masses. You will be alone in your sovereignty. Are you willing to pay that price? Most will say yes now in the safety of their room, but the moment the furnace is lit, they will reveal themselves. They will reveal themselves. They will revert to the prey. They will look for a master to follow. You must decide right now that you are the master. The version of you that clicked on this video, the one who felt invisible, the one who was tired of being reactive, that person is already obsolete. By watching this, you have been exposed to the operating system of the elite. You cannot unsee the chess pieces. You cannot return to the herd and pretend you don't see the wolves. Most people will finish this and go back to their lives of quiet desperation, waiting for the next crisis to paralyze them. They will fail because they value their comfort more than their dominance. But you are different, or at least you claim to be. If you are ready to stop being a victim of the moment and start being the architect of it, you must signal your alignment. This is not for me. It is for the machine you are building within yourself. Leave a comment with a single word, sovereign. It is a signature on a contract with your own discipline. It is an acknowledgement that from this moment forward, pressure is not your enemy. It is your atmosphere. Subscribing to this channel is not an act of support. I do not need your support. It is a commitment to the continued deconstruction of your own weaknesses. It is a daily reminder that the world is a cold place and you must be colder to survive it. The furnace is waiting. Decide now, will you melt or will you be forged? The choice is yours. For now,